All right, episode 105, we're going to be talking about real estate growth and failures. We're going to get started right now.
Welcome to the only real estate podcast worth listening to, with your hosts Nick Good, Matt Kelderman, and Brian Force. Combined, they have 26 years of experience and have sold over 1,500 homes. Join them each week as they bring you everything you need to know about real estate. And now, here are your hosts, Nick, Matt, and Brian.
All right, episode 105. Today, we're going to be talking about, is your real estate business, is it destined for growth or is it destined for failure? Right, but before we get started, today's show is sponsored by Mortgage Mike.
Mortgage Mike.
So if you go to mortgagemikeoftexas.com, if you are in the state of Texas, he's a loan officer. He can help you. He's amazing. So go check out Michael DeBacker, a.k.a. Mortgage Mike, mortgagemikeoftexas.com. And we're going to talk about, is your real estate business destined for growth or is it destined for failure?
Ooh, eerie.
My ability to share this show out today is destined for failure. Some days, like Facebook just befuddles me with like why I can't get to the right form of sharing. There's one way to share this into other groups where you can just like share it like a maniac. There's another way where you got to do it like individually.
Yeah, dude.
And it takes me the first 3 minutes of every show to remember how the hell I do it every week.
Jesus. Kristen. That needs to be you from now on.
Yeah, no, just here.
Oh, yeah. She's not in all the groups. Well, you need to be cooler then.
Welcome back, Nick.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was in Orlando.
Yeah.
Just for a fun trip.
Yeah.
So
how was the weather?
it was rainy.
Because it was really shitty here. Oh, okay. Well,
it was rainy. It was humid. It was rainy, but it's Orlando. It's kind of love-hate relationship with
Did you go to Disney World?
We drove by Disney World.
I've never. Maybe this is because I don't have kids, but I've also heard it's supposed to be fun as an adult. I have never gotten into the Disney thing, and I know that's like blasphemy to a lot of people, but I don't get it. I don't get the expense. I feel like it costs as much as Fiji, and
probably more
than Fiji.
Look, we're
that
looking,
seems bananas to me.
I think we're trying to go next year. Take Asher and Addie, and I'm budgeting this would be like a $25,000 trip.
So
for real?
Oh, dude. So we've got a buddy, Jim, up in the Clare, Wisconsin office, one of my Her Group buddies, and he's a big Disney crazy person, right? And we were talking, I texted him because I was like thinking about taking Luke or whatever. And I was like, look, I want to do the bit where we don't have to wait in lines. Like I want to do this like as annoyless as possible. I think I invent words all the time on the show. And he sent me a message back, and I think he threw out like 10 grand, and I was like, no, dog, we're good.
That's insane.
I'm not going right now. Luke doesn't need to go that bad.
Not to support anti-Semitism. That's for sure.
Really quick, before we get started, is it showing that I went live? Are you under mine?
Oh, we did a new thing last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see the only real estate podcast is live.
Well, in the group, by the way, the only real estate group we're being a part of, go check it out on Facebook. But it's showing that I personally went live in there.
So we shared it out on the Only Real Estate Podcast, the Tour Academy, and on the YouTube.
There we go.
Why
on
is
the
Jesse
YouTube.
not mic'd up when we don't have a guest?
I don't know. On
he needs
the
to be
YouTube.
so much more involved in this show.
On the YouTube. But look, let's talk about, is your real estate business destined for growth or failure? And one of the reasons that I want to talk about this is that look, in this type of market that we're in, right? You can have really, really great success like you guys, like the Dallas DFW Herg Group is having. I mean, best year that you've ever seen.
That was me knocking on wood.
Right? We're up 6%. We're up
nice.
6% in GCI and 5% in closed volume.
Hell yeah.
So it's still up. But you know what we look at when I'm talking to other agents that have had success in the past, they're struggling on this type of marketplace. And I'm going through and we're revamping our systems. After talking to you, I'm going with more leverage, with Justin Nelson over at Sphere Rocket, a good friend of the show, sponsor of the show at times.
Yeah.
And we need to talk, Justin.
Oh no.
And so it's we still have that success, but I'm starting to see some of these agents that are they're sucking wind right now.
Sure.
Right. And so do you have a truly scalable business model in any type of marketplace?
Yes.
right? So, and you guys being part of the Hergen-Rother group expansion,
Mhm.
that is something that, there's other Herg groups that
Sure.
didn't work out.
Yeah. Her group has been amazing to us. We certainly do things a little bit differently than a lot of the other teams. But I think when we start to unpack this conversation around, is your business destined for growth or failure? And we take the current market environment into consideration. We deal with the same struggles that everybody else does. We have our team meeting every Tuesday, and I talk a lot and ask questions, open the floor up, and a lot of times it's a similar message or similar questions I'm asking as probably individual agents are asking themselves. Where are we going to get more listings? And how are we going to get our buyers under contract? We deal with all the same stuff as everybody else does. That really never goes away. I think where you start to unpack, is your business destined for growth or failure? If you're going to answer, it's destined for growth. What I'm starting to find now is that through our ability to leverage out non-dollar productive activities, we're also able to give ourselves and our agent partners and everybody in our business the ability to try to be nimble and to innovate. And that was something, before Matt and I joined businesses, that was really where our pain points were, was that Matt wanted to be out there producing and selling houses. I wanted to be trying crazy Kanye West ideas and figuring out what the hell worked and systematizing it all. And when you're trying to do all things yourself at all times, you really only have the ability to stick to what you know. And then if what you know stops working, all of a sudden your business can shift overnight. And that's what happened to a lot of people in 2008. That's what happened to a lot of people in different market environments. So, that's where we've put a lot of our focus.
So what we're seeing right now is where's the biggest reason for someone to fail, right? Why would someone's business fail? Let's say that they, let's take them that they were proven over the last 5 or 6 years,
Mm-hmm.
right? And again, a lot of that is marketplace.
Sure.
But is it lack of systems? Is it lack of systems or structure in place? Is that the only reason causing that? Is it that their lead generation is not truly duplicatable? Right? So what if we had to rank them? This is something that I go with every single day in my mind is how do we continue to scale? We scaled our business to Houston, right?
Yeah.
And we proved up the concept.
Yep.
Right? Our failures there were that we did not have before the right. I was not the right leader to lead it virtually.
Sure. It's so difficult.
It's difficult now today. We probably would be successful doing that.
Last year changed a lot of things as far as doing
Absolutely.
stuff virtually. Sure.
Right. And so from that, what we found there there was limitations in the brokers that we were with where caps and cost and everything else. So, it wasn't the leads. Was it the structure? Maybe.
Right.
Was it the system? Definitely.
Sure.
And was it the leadership? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or lack thereof. So what if you had to rank them, seeing where your growth has been from the last, you guys partnered up in 2019. It was April 2019 because I was at the Masters.
That's right.
Right. So
Sure.
April of 2019, I had to at least
Throw
that in there. Right. So April 2019, you guys partnered up. Where that growth that you had, what was the number one reason?
Systems. So when you first asked that question, I think the biggest issue for any agent, whether you're on a team or an individual in a market like this, is when you have to increase the amount of time it takes to do the same thing that you used to do. Admittedly,
Yes.
it's harder to take listings. It's harder to get buyers under contract. When you are already at the edge of your ability to handle the time because you're leveraged in maybe really small ways or not leveraged at all, that time efficiency just eats you alive super, super quick. And if it used to take you essentially a whole month's worth of work to do 3 or 4 deals, and those deals were coming from some specific lead sources on top of that have now dried up a little bit, right? If you were really heavy on new construction or something, that might not be really easy right now.
Yeah.
God forbid. Are these builders now kicking out their listing agents? All these agents who had these kind of sweetheart deals with these builders, and now all of a sudden, the builder doesn't really need you anymore. Are they still sending you their listings to put in the MLS?
Right? They still need them though, right?
They still need them.
They still need them from a standpoint of
Agreement might have changed though.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Is if
definitely.
we know across the board that there's been some reductions in all kinds of expenses that builders were take on, and I've got to imagine that would be included. So, but for me, to answer your question, systems be the answer to both of your questions. Where I think that's where most agents are probably struggling right now. They don't know what to do next when their one thing that they've always done isn't working. And then as far as our ability to explode, who did I just see ask the question? Oh, Brian McDonald asked what turnover was like. I'll tell you what turnover was like, Brian. The first year that I ran Her Group DFW, I hired 18 agents and I merged with Brian with 1. So it was really, really bad. And
that was less, I will tell you, it was like, candidly, that was more leadership problems.
Well, hell yeah.
leadership and expectations. I wouldn't see Matt in the hallway and he'd be like, man, I told these agents and they were gone. Fuck these guys.
Yeah,
like,
I was not a great leader.
They didn't even have a chance, but they just logged into the computer and they passed their password up.
And what the reason for that is it goes back to what Nick was saying. I was not the leader for those people. My business was one way. I was the agent who would have failed if I was on my own right now. Just very candidly, if I was out there doing all this on my own, I would be in big, big trouble.
Sure.
Right. So yes, turnover is high, but then even when Brian and I joined, turnover was we still made some aggressive hires trying to fill some holes that we didn't really know. I'll tell you, since we've stabilized, we've let go of one person.
Yeah.
In a long time.
Yeah. And that was more our decision.
That was just it wasn't the right fit to begin with.
So, and I agree. Number one is systems. And that's, look, the lead generation part is everyone,
it's the sex. Everybody wants to do that.
Yes, right. And that is the sex appeal. You're right.
It's the sex appeal. Yep. Lead generation is the sex. Every time Brian and I do a class, we put like lead generation. Everybody's like, oh, I'm going to that one.
Yeah.
We're like lead follow up. They're like, screw those guys.
Yeah, like one person comes.
How to take 20 listings in 20 days or whatever it is, right? It's like, and look, that's all clickbait. Just like, hopefully, real estate growth and failures. Everything is designed to attract you in. But when you go look at it, the systems is the hardest part.
Sure.
Right. And we think, I was listening to a Ben Kinney, an old Ben Kinney podcast today, and even listening to his stuff. And I'm like, man, it makes sense from a system standpoint. It makes sense. But trying to get those people to truly buy into it and execute that game plan every single day. Because he's like, here's our new team agreement. Here's this. If you don't like it, get on out. And I'm like, and I look at him like, man, are today's agents, a lot of these they don't want to do the work.
Yeah. And here's the thing. This is where it becomes like, let's say you're an individual trying to scale your business and maybe even grow a team right now. And then you're asking the question, is it destined to success or failure? Your success is 100% contingent on your ability to just allow people to do dollar productive activities. And so what I mean by that is, lead generation is a great example. Imagine if you're working buyers right now, and when it used to, be you had tons of inventory, you took a buyer out, they had 50 homes they could see, and they picked their best ones, and you were going to get your offer accepted because there wasn't multiple offers and whatever. You were very efficient in getting buyers under contract. Now, if you have to take 4 times the amount of time and manpower or man hours that you were taking to get that same buyer under contract before, that's 4 hours away from doing something else, right? And where those gaps end up happening are in 2 places: either the client care that you have on the existing deals that you're doing, or your lead generation. And so if you had to pick one to go, your client care aspect is the one that needs to be handled because your ass still needs to lead generate. And so those gaps really become apparent when the market starts to change or the industry starts to get a little bit tougher, right? And that is, again, if you're starting to think about growing your business, if you're one of those people like I was in the beginning, or Matt was in the beginning, or maybe even Nick was in the beginning, where your mindset is, all I need to do is I need to be badass and then go hire a bunch of buyer's agents and they're going to be badass too. Exactly. It's just not going to work because they still need the systems to take care of their business so they can go out and lead generate, right? And that's why, again, I know we talk about systems so much, but it is times like these, what we are seeing right now, when it is harder to go find listings and when it is harder to get buyers under contract, that the actual what happens in your business that isn't dollar productive, all of that being taken care of, that's when it becomes really apparent, because you still need to go out and find buyers and sellers. You still need to lead generate. You can't sacrifice that part. So everything else needs to be systematized.
Well, and to kind of Nick's point earlier, while I agree that people do have to do the work, I also love having the perspective of knowing what Nick's business, how he grew it, and then partnering in our partnership, because where we've made a lot of hay and been able to, I think, partner with people that's going to be mutually beneficial for everybody is we don't have rigidity in our lead gen structure, right?
Yeah.
Like, meaning and I want other agents to hear this when they talk about systems. You can adapt systems to anything.
Yeah.
We have an absolute killer on this team who will probably do $35 million this year if she does not slow down. And the majority of that business is, I will tell you, none of that business comes from making completely ice cold calls. Not a bit of it. No. But there's a system around everything she does. We just partnered with somebody who does a lot of farm and ranch. Mm-hmm. We have systems for that, right? We're able to now, like Nick was talking about, put certain things in certain places because we've allowed agents to come in and have the type of business they want, as long as they're the type of agents who are going to put action to the business they want.
Yeah.
Right. That's
but
the
you
biggest
have a broad,
part.
You still have the broad range, right? So you still have the box system.
100%.
That then you can go fit the niche. You're talking about the niches, right?
Yeah.
So there's still the broad range system where it's coming 100%. In. It's like, all right, day 1 is this, day 2 is that, day 3.
Right.
That's something we're perfecting right now, honestly.
Yeah. And where that comes into play, again, if you're trying to grow your business or a team or whatever, talking about the baseline systems, where you start is everything that happens either after you take a listing or after you put a buyer on a contract or just a home on a contract, right? If you're an individual agent and you are manually doing all of that stuff, and when I mean manually, I mean like you don't even have templates for it. Like you're just kind of free, like I used to, and like you used to, right? Like, hey, here's this and that. Like if you're handling all of that stuff and you don't have a button you can click to start a workflow that's just going to go and go and go, like 2 things need to happen. Either you're going to take the hard road, and that is building it yourself like we did, and it sucks and it takes a long time, or you need to start to leverage it out. And then the question becomes, how do you leverage it out? Oh, it's easy for Nick, Brian, and Matt to say, they've got a little more resources than we do or whatever. Like nobody likes taking that commission check and writing that X amount into another bank account for taxes. But this is the same thing, right? If you're going to grow your business, quite frankly, you need to learn to live off a very lean portion of your commission checks because the rest needs to go towards building that infrastructure.
Yeah, it's not, I would tell you, even today, it's not fun.
No.
I just signed up my ISA. We're bringing on a virtual call center. And I just put them into a MAPS ISA camp.
Oh wow, okay.
And I'm like, man, $199 a month.
Gosh, another thing I'm paying for.
Yes, it's like, and the ROI is not there yet.
Yeah.
Right. And so you start looking at this. It's not fun, right? But from a systematized part, and that's the hardest part because we overthink it.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, what do you do every single day?
Yep.
Right. What do you do when you before you even take that listing? Right. So for us, we had to, and I didn't have this, by the way, I did not build this out. Like I'll give credit to Elizabeth when she was running the team. She manually documented this. This was all up here in my head.
Same season. I don't mean we. I mean the people that sit over there.
Yeah.
We didn't have much to do with this.
Yeah. Like even today, we're revamping our entire playbook, right? Because of COVID, where before Brian and I were very similar. Our agents needed to be in the office 8 to 12 every day, and if you didn't fit that box or that mold, you're out.
Yeah.
Right. And you probably don't have that rule as strong today.
We are very honest about running a meritocracy. If you ain't here, you better be selling houses. And if you're selling a lot of houses, we kind of work for you. So
this is what it is. Right. And so understanding that the system is number one. So if you really need to break down the systems, portion of that, go to the Only Real Estate Podcast Worth Listening To. Message us in there. We get a lot of messages coming in from our Facebook page.
Yeah.
Because next week's show we have on
Kari Briner.
Yep. It's going to be pretty fun. It's really funny because she came into my world. She's actually the reason I'm with HERG, right? Like my whole HERG journey started at Mega Relief in Houston, which was a KW event where they were giving away paper towels on some line, and somebody talked to somebody who talked to somebody else who ended up starting this whole downhill run for me, right? It's crazy. So she used to be a huge part of my day to day, and now she runs the really large part of a coaching and training side of everything that Adam Hergenrother does. I'm starting Project U next month. I'll be in Vermont the end of June.
Yeah.
So I'm stoked to have her on.
Yeah. So
high level coaching.
So that will be a great show next week. And we're going to be talking about, almost like a work-life balance or maybe the myth of it. I don't know. We'll see what she says. Cause I think it's a little mythy.
I think it ebbs and flows in your life. There's certainly times I have more life balance.
Do a little preview. I just it's such a weird, I'm interested to have this conversation because it seems so foreign to me because I don't really understand work-life balance, but at the same time, I don't really understand it because we're just all really blessed to work with people that we want to hang out with all the time. So there's no line for us. Even when the 3 of us get together, we go to the lake and what do? We shoot BB guns and bullshit about real estate.
I mean, but I'll say that right now, there's times, you said ebbs and flows, right? And we'll talk about this on episode 106 next week. But I mean, my work-life balance is out of whack. It's more work than it is more personal life at the moment, right? That we've got a lot of things up in the air, a lot of things that you have to go and dive down, revamping systems that we just talked about. And then it even comes down to your, I would say the next part is your lead gen. Yeah. Right. From a scalability model or from a growth or failure. Yep. Right. So if you're an individual agent, you still have to run off of systems, right? For yourself.
I think it's even more important.
Probably. And you have to have your lead gen model down. Yeah. Right. Most individual agents that aren't either trying to start a team or aren't, team owners, they're probably running 90% off of referral base. Yeah. Right. I would think. And right now, how's that? There's a lot of those people that aren't doing that well because of it.
Aren't doing that well. And, the forces that are working against you are working harder than you are. And by that, I mean, if you're not out there prospecting, that means you're not out there, lead generating in whatever form you want to call it. That means you're not bringing in new business. That means you're probably not, or I should say new business from people that you've never met before. That means you're not having a lot of objection handler conversations, which is really a bad thing, because that means that a lot of, let's say the tech companies that are getting the space and stuff, they're probably winning, right? They're probably taking some food off of your table, right? We have this conversation all the time. We did this, yesterday. About Open Door and stuff. And Matt was talking with a lead who was going to list with Open Door. And, I don't want to talk, too much about other companies on the show, but fuck Open Door. And but we just straight up were able to pull out an example of their pricing structure and how it really screwed the seller over, and this, that, and the other thing. And when you're heavily relying on referrals, if you're not really out there actively working that, you're not even getting to the plate to have an at-bat in those conversations.
And this is the big thing, and I won't even frame it up as teams, because I don't want people to ever think like this show is just about us. But the reality is, being a part of a network or a group of people, whatever that is that you're engaged with, that is the thing that helps close deals. I tell people all the time, the hardest thing for me to show you the ROI on is the conversation that we have in the room that leads you to answering a question in a listing appointment, that leads you to getting that listing. Right. That then leads to good Google reviews, that leads to the experience do you get the next listing, right?
It creates the whole spider web.
That's why when we sit down with people and they're like, well, how long does this last, or how long are these and this? And it's like, dude, if we're doing this right in 6 months, the lines between everything are going to be so blurred, it shouldn't matter anyways. Yeah. Right. And that's really hard to replicate on your own or at the house by yourself if you're just doing referral business. If you're not out there experiencing the market, how can you talk about your experiences in the market, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, by the way, we talked about this, about the Open Door, about the at-bats. It probably in the episode 30-ish range, if I remember. Mm-hmm. We were still in the original Real News
in the studio, yeah.
And the Real News, if you remember, we talked about taking at bats off of it, and luckily the pandemic actually from that hurt Open Door and some of these others where your stock as a real estate agent today is higher than ever.
I think so.
Right. And a lot of real estate agents don't understand that. They don't understand, sellers aren't respecting real estate agents at this moment because they think that all they have to do is just
put a sign in the yard and take some pictures.
That's why agents are discounting whatever fee that they're doing it for. And your value is the highest since COVID. It's continued to go up, just like, crypto's been. Yeah. I mean, other than
yesterday and today.
I've your ability, especially as you age into this business a little bit, to talk more about your value at keeping deals together, the peace of mind aspect, the time cost of the transaction with a seller. That's super important in this market. I remember when I came in 2012, and then here in DFW got really hot in 13, 14, and 15. And I was still kind of a rookie and a really heavy buyer's agent. So I wasn't really taking many listings at the time. Yep. And I remember that was such a difficult conversation for me to have, because at the time I didn't really realize that I could just take the buyer conversation and turn it into a listing conversation, right? I wasn't that skilled, right? But again, I was at a small boutique brokerage where the loudest thing in the room was the air conditioner, right? Like I wasn't getting anything from anywhere, right? But I sure was making a whole bunch of my own money. Right. Yeah. I got a large percentage of the jack squat I was making.
Well, yeah.
And so I think for anybody, if you're sitting there and you're not having enough conversations and you feel like you don't understand what's happening in this market, I just don't know how you plan to articulate it. And that's a huge part of your value these days.
When that goes into part of, are you set up for growth and success, or are you set up for failure? Yep. Right. Where you're not doing the research either. Right. So you're not putting the time in. You're not putting the time in to learn how to build your systems. You're not putting the time into to even perfect your lead generation model.
Yep.
Right. I mean, we're not, as team owners every single day. I mean, I'm putting more and more money into this business. I'm spending more money today
Oh, absolutely.
where the luxuries that our agents have are not, they're so high. This is like the Ritz compared to when, ask Elizabeth, when we first did it, this is like staying at Motel 6.
Sure. Likewise.
Right?
That's why we lost so many people in the beginning.
Right. Yeah. It's like, we didn't have scripts. We didn't have any systems. We didn't have any routine. We didn't even have, like, she wanted the dialer. Like, all right, if you want it, how much is it? Well, I guess we'll do it.
Yeah.
Right. But now, now that it's afforded those luxuries, but we're still tweaking every single day to protect the agent's business, to protect the company's business, and becoming better marketers. Where a lot of these agents, whether you truly have a scalable model, the reason why they're losing to an open door or to other agents, why are they losing to other agents? Well, they didn't stay in front of them long enough or good enough. The phone calls aren't enough.
Yep.
Right? The pop buys aren't enough. Are they seeing you online? Are they seeing you as that? Unfortunately, we there's some things that we make fun of behind closed doors, but you got to do some of that stuff.
They work,
Let's say like the Real News magazine.
Or
We promoted the shit out of that.
Oh, absolutely. Are you kidding me? We were all
It
about
was
it.
on the wall here.
I'll even say at least that one's based off actual production, right? There are other ones out there that are based solely off your ability to stroke a check.
Exactly.
And here's the thing is, look, I'll call it out on the carpet because I did it in our group one time already. Like, for those of you sitting with Barbara Corcoran, we know what that bid is.
Also, I mean, good for you.
And also, she didn't call me to ask me for the check either.
Yeah,
right?
so
it's
it
very
ain't-
similar to like what's the
She
old,
didn't call them either.
what's the old
The
Parkland
company did.
and I may be butchering this, so for the Dallas agents, don't murder me if I'm wrong about this, but I'm obsessed with getting an old Parkland Hospital to the old Trammell Crow office buildings because it's just some of the most exclusive office space in there. And my understanding is not only do you have to be able to afford some insanely expensive office space, you also got to get asked first.
Yeah, you can't just like go on the website.
So there's a part of selling a bunch of real estate and then waiting for them to ask. I get that, but you're
But it's
right.
perception, though.
It's perception of
the
it. Who
consumer
cares?
doesn't know,
Sure.
right? The consumer doesn't know, like, oh, I had to pay Barbara for that
Right.
endorsement. I had to pay Sean Hannity, whomever they have at that time.
Right.
And so again, are you bettering your marketing to your herd, or are you just using those podunk damn drip campaigns that you didn't even read? You don't even know. Like, honestly, I have some in Boomtown that go out. I'm like, you know what?
We got some that are a little rough.
I didn't even read them.
We just got a really great couple who partnered with us over in Southlake, and they were here in the office yesterday, and we're looking at like I think it was like our 3-year like sphere drip, just like the generic one. She looked at, she's like, no.
We're like, yeah, you're right.
No, that's not for people that you actually know. Like, that's not. Don't use that.
Yeah,
These are for the
Use this
sphere
one.
that we don't like.
Yeah, this
Right.
is just for that pond account.
Right.
Just put them on something.
Well, going back to just kind of a combination of what you both had just said earlier, we talk a lot about being nimble and flexible in our business, right? And to take this to like a real, some people get kind of glossy-eyed when we talk about like the simplicity of the financial side of this. Like, when we're talking about staying in lead generation mode, being able to try new things, innovate, kind of weather the storm in different environments and succeed through different things. And we talk about how it comes back to systems and leverage. Well, the reality is, Matt said something earlier about, growing up in the real estate business, right? And what's funny to me is that it's almost like when you get into the real estate business, you become a kid again with your money, even if you're not like that in your real life. Like, when you're a kid with your money, you're like, I saved to my allowance. Now I have $100. I'm going to go blow $100 on something because I have it, and I say, or whatever. Right. And then, you grow up and you become an adult, and hopefully at some point in your 20s or 30s or whenever, you realize like, hey, I should spend less than I make. This is silly, right? Let's invest some of this, right? But it's funny how we kind of know that as adults, as people, but then when it comes to running our real estate business, I mean, how many people do we come across that the stuff that we're saying right now about building out leverage, building out systems, giving yourself the ability to stay in lead generation mode by hiring and leveraging certain things out seem foreign to them, even though they make 6 figures, because they spend 6 figures, right? If they make $100,000 a year, they live off $100,000 a year, or hopefully they're paying taxes at least, right? And that is where the conversation turns to, like, everything we're saying right now only really started falling into place for us in our businesses when we realized, like, you cannot just take your net revenue after taxes and be like, this is what I made this year. Like, you've got to start treating this like a business. If your price point is $300,000 and you make $9,000 a pop, you better not be taking more than 3 of that for yourself. To be honest with you,
$3,500.
that's all it can be, man. Because what's gonna, like, nothing in our business is perfect. We allow ourselves. We talk about the difference between, growth and failure. Failure is going to come with growth, right? We do a lot of things wrong and learn from them, but we have the ability to do that because we reinvest in our business and give ourselves the flexibility to F up a lot and still move forward. If you're working on razor thin margins because you live your lifestyle in a way that is congruent with the exact amount of money that you bring in every year, one, your business is always going to have a ceiling, and 2, that's how people get knocked completely out of this business because they don't give themselves that margin of error to go and leverage themselves out and innovate.
And I would say that's honestly shameless team plug. If you are one of those agents who is producing and on razor thin margins, that is where you understand. That's where you start talking. That is where the team has the most value for you, right? And I'm not saying to us, that's where you start looking around for somebody to partner with because you have an ability to produce, right? But you may not have an ability to run a business. I did not at all, right? But the flip side of that is everything about my life is more productive. Nick talks about being in a season right now of overworking. I'm in a season of giving myself a break, which is coming to a halt, right? But it's just been one of those things. I've taken every Monday at 3:00, every Tuesday at 3:00. I shut it down for Luke, right? But then I also wasn't ramping myself back up. Nobody's not falling into this trap, guys. It's not like some like elusive thing where you don't get out of whack at certain points of your life and have to readjust. Again, it's easier to do when you're in alignment with the right people in your life.
So be sure to tune in next week, right? So we'll talk more about that. That would be great to really have. How do you pronounce her name?
Kari?
I want to say Carrie.
It's Carrie Highwell.
It's Carrie. I say Kari sometimes. It's spelled Cari, which seems like it should be pronounced
Pam
Kari.
Or Pam?
Pam.
I think I can help you with the Pam situation. I mean, I was like, wait, I was going to butcher. I was like, man, I'm glad I didn't say what her name was.
I always screwed up.
All right, good. Carrie. So next week, episode 106. And then, look, I mean, today's show is brought to you by Mortgage Mike. So go to mortgagemikeoftexas.com if you are a real estate agent in Texas, or if you're not in Texas, you want to see what a real loan officer can do for you, right? What he can do to help your business and the systems that he's scaling with, right? So go to Mortgage Mike of Texas, just connect with him. He's a good dude. You'll want to chat with him. He'll talk with anybody. Just let him know that, give him shit. He's a Chicago Bears fan.
I know. Boo.
I'm looking all right now.
Yeah. So, but I mean, we look at, the same thing in the real estate business, same in the mortgage industry. I mean, his business went from zero now 3.5 years ago to 58 million last year. Good for him. So that's, if you go look at even that, everything is your business designed for failure or success, right? And he did everything through lead generation, and now he's got to go back and figure out the systems part. So everyone and his systems are amazing now. But thanks to that's thanks to coaching, which is, again, if you're not getting coaching and you need help with that, I would definitely, reach out to Carrie next week. Reach out to Wayne Salomons that we've had on, John
Jake
Kitchens,
Dixon.
Jake. Actually, Jake, some of his stuff from the locker room. The stuff he shared is
at the very least just follow the guy, because he just throws out some nuggets every once in a while from a mindset perspective too. Because, and quick little side note about coaching, like, understand that coaching is just always going to be about helping you mentally get to the next level, right? 100%. Like, if you're looking at coaching because you're just like me, there's certain things I don't like to do, but it's because there's certain mental roadblocks. It's not because I'm just like, don't have the ability to do them. That's what you should always go into coaching for, is just somebody to walk alongside you to help you when you're just not being the best version of yourself.
And it never ends.
So then you got David Huffman that we had on the show with Closings on Demand, right? There's a lot. We've had a lot of cool people on the show that if you go back and listen to it, that you can be able to pick up little tidbits here and there. Coach Kyle Draper from social media. What that dude's expanded on from when he first came on the show, if you go watch it, and you can go pick up, just listening to this show here, you can go pick up to little bits and pieces and nuggets to go back and systematize your business from all right, let's say that you want to go all in on you want to be just a video, like there's a guy on YouTube named Meet Kevin. He's out of California. He's the no pressure agent. Has over 1 million followers, and he's talking Dude's probably making a shit. You've heard of him, Jesse?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, he sells courses. He's making a ton of money on YouTube, but is also selling real estate. But there's
What
agents.
a novel thing. You mean there's real estate agents who sell real estate and aren't just fake coaches on YouTube?
Yeah.
They're few and far between. But
Yeah.
it's just-
Man.
Right. So figure out the way. I think number one, if we're talking about systems, right? You need to understand where do you want your business to go. I think that's the biggest thing, right? Where you think about, all right, in the next 5 years, where do you want that business to be?
Yeah.
And then let's systematize to that first,
100%.
right? Because if you're just systematizing the shit you're doing today, I mean, I'm going to tell you that our first 5 years, we were all over the place.
You could be documenting today right now, which like you were talking about Elizabeth's thing. And I think one of the biggest misses in general in my life, but also like, I just wish every day I would have written down like the best thing and the worst thing about that day. Over time, you're going to be able to look back and see exactly what you needed to fix and exactly how you changed. But at the very least, be documenting this stuff in written form.
Yeah.
Or look, we're all comfortable with Zoom now. Just record yourself doing the crappy task, put it in a drive. I know I say this probably every month and a half on here, but we're in the process right now rolling in my new assistant. She didn't know do something like video's already there.
So I like that. I like Loom better.
Okay.
LOOM.com.
Yeah, I've used Loom before.
Loom,
too.
what I like about Loom better than Zoom is that it saves it all in one area. Like Zoom, you'd have to download it and then you put it in Google Drive.
Sure.
And it's not as aesthetically
So Loom
pleasing.
just houses all your crap. too?
Houses, and I
Gosh,
can have
love
an
that.
individual. I can have a team account. So our team, where all my new agents. So what I started building. Thus, if you go to the only real estate group worth listening to on Facebook, I asked the question. I asked the question yesterday or the day before. What is today? Wednesday. So Monday, I said I want to see everyone's new agent onboarding. What do they expect? I know that there's, and I can't find it anymore. It used to be everywhere, but what do you do in your first 30 days? It's the 200 contact list, right? So
she's smiling right now.
Right. The 200 sphere upload list, and then the email that goes out, the letter that goes out, right? So from that, then you put it on Loom and then you make sure that everyone watches it.
Yep.
Joe Rosen has a 30-day video series that for his new agents, they sign up every day at 6 a.m. He has a video that goes out. They have to watch it. They have to complete it.
Yep.
You know Joe's shit is so buttoned up.
I bet it is. And it's so high energy too.
Right. So, I mean, Joe was willing to share that. We got to get Joe on the show.
Have we still not had him on?
No, we had him on. We did
webinar.
where we did the little mastermind thing for a bit. Yeah.
Yep. And so understanding and then quickly realize, all right, if your business is pivoting, then take part of your systems aren't completely screwed. So take the foundation of it and then add to it.
Yes.
Right. A lot of people will pivot their business. I know a lot of agents that are now completely making money, getting leads coming in from YouTube, and that's all they're into.
Yeah. Dude,
right. And they're like, well, my systems are all different. No, it's still the same. Your lead gen just looks different.
Yeah, 100%. You're still putting in the effort.
So I do a monthly live with Christina Smallhorn, right? Yeah. And we're actually doing it this Sunday. So if you want to check it out, it's Christina M. Smallhorn on YouTube. She does lives every Sunday. I'll be on this Sunday
Christina
if you want to check it out. Yeah, Christina with a K. But she always has a great YouTube business and has still the real estate side of stuff coming in. It's crazy, man.
100%. It's still lead generation. And I think
it's still lead generation.
To sort of answer the question in one sort of fell swoop, is your business, kind of destined for growth or failure? Think about, do you spend the same amount of time per deal doing all the shit that doesn't get you more deals for every deal? And if that is the case, your business is going to be destined for failure until you figure out a way that is not going to happen. And the way to figure out how that is not going to happen is to give yourself the margin of error of failing forward and building systems to insulate yourself from having to do that. And the way to do that is to spend a hell of a lot less money than you make and reinvest in your business, because otherwise you are literally juggling fire every day. Yeah. And it's just eventually it will end in disaster.
Well, and I know that we all think like this because we've talked about this. Is that I actually think I'm going out of business every day. Yeah. I'm afraid of fail. I think I'm going to fail every single day.
Yep.
And every night I'm like, all right, and that's, why I hired a coach for the first time in a long time.
I can't remember where we were the other day. Oh, we were in New York. We're so wine drunk in New York.
Those photos.
I was sitting on a patio somewhere and I was having a conversation. I literally texted my coach. I was like, is our business a house of cards?
Yeah.
And she texted back. She was like, no. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. And that's the reason I actually hired a coach for the first time in 10 years is because that I was like, man, I think I'm going out of business every day.
Yep.
And so he just he reframed it and said, ask yourself and your team and your group and your organization every single day, what's the one thing that's in your control that will move the business forward?
Oh,
Right?
Such a
It's not
good question.
contracts.
No.
Right? Because you can't control it. So it's what's the one thing that you can control every single day?
Yep.
Well, I can better my systems. I can better put leverage support or better people in place that, I mean, one of my assistants sent out this, we ripped off this open door letter and she sent it out and was like, holy shit, this thing's working like clockwork.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
Then go spend the money on marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly
You
right.
can't trademark
Let
a letter.
them
You can
fit-
trademark the way Coke tastes. You can't trademark that letter though.
Yeah, no, you can't.
Right. So it's like she went with it, ran with it, and sent it out. I'm like, cool.
That's
like,
awesome.
I was like, give him the leash to mess up.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't put us out of business.
I like it, man. Today was awesome, guys.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Cool. We appreciate those of you who joined us.
Yeah.
man.
I don't know if I'm liking 100% whatever was changed last week.
I know. We're
'Cause
gonna keep
I
tweaking
can't
it.
figure out how many people were watching. Like, there's a
That's
whole bunch
weird.
of different.
There's different
Like
numbers.
on your number,
I
it
still
shows
can't see
different than
comments.
mine. I can't see comments anymore.
I don't. Some weeks this is my fault though, guys. Because what you don't see on the back end is I don't have a system for what I share out to. Like I just share out
So
to the
this
ones.
show is destined for
Just
failure.
And
shoot
so there,
from the
so
hip.
there are some of
House
them.
of cards.
This is a house. In fact, we're just too dumb to know it.
I
Yeah,
feel like
exactly.
today is one of the days I get myself put in Facebook jail this weekend because that's usually what happens. Like in like 2 days, I'll comment in our own group,
Yeah.
and then it'll just be like, "You can't post for 3 days," and I'm like, "Oh." I gotta wait till like Sunday night.
Yeah, that's fun.
All right. So go listen to or go over to the iTunes. Ugh, I've been gone a week. So go to iTunes.
You
Go to
go
iTunes if you want to. We go to iTunes, the only real estate podcast worth listening to. Leave us 5-star review there. We're really working on getting the reviews. Episode 106 next week is with Carrie Heibel.
Yeah.
Heibel.
Carrie Heibel-Briner. Yeah.
Is it Hibble?
We
How
know
do you,
a lot of
how do you
people.
pronounce it?
I pronounce it Carrie Heibel-Briner, but I might
that's
I might
how
be
we-
fucking that up. a
No,
whole
that's
bunch.
perfect.
Is
That's
that
perfect.
perfect? Okay.
Can we just call her CHB? So
CHB.
we got CHB on next week, and we're going to be talking about the work-life balance. And then episode 104 was with Meg Agent Chris Wise.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
super fun. Go check that one out.
Yep.
Definitely.
So, and then go to the only real estate group worth being a part of and mortgagemikeoftexas.com.
Jesse, get us out, baby.
Hey, thank you for watching. We truly appreciate it. Checking out another episode of the only real estate podcast worth listening to. If you're watching this on YouTube, please go ahead, hit that share button, hit that like button, and hit the subscribe button. Right? We're dropping more stuff on YouTube constantly. If you're on iTunes, leave us a review, please. We're really, really focused on building up those reviews so we can get more searchable content on there. And if you're on Facebook, like everyone else is, go over and search the only real estate group worth being a part of. You're going to want to go join that group. I'm telling you right now, there's so much gold in there. So go join, share us on YouTube, and leave us that iTunes review. Please go do it right now. We'll see you on the next show.